So I was reading the word this morning and I got a word and I wanted to share it. So I'm going to read something for you. Genesis 3 and verse 1, the fall of man. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat from the tree that's in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die." "You will not surely die," the serpent said to the woman, "for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. So taking it back a little bit, in chapter 2, verse 20, Adam was alone, and of all the animals there was not one suitable for him, because he was above them, and no one was on his level. God then wanted to create an equal for him, and he put Adam into a deep sleep and removed one of his ribs, and created a woman from his rib, and brought her to the man. Verse 23 says, "The man said, 'This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called a woman, for she was taken out of man. For this reason a man will leave his mother and his father and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh.' The man and his wife were both naked and felt no shame." Though Adam was asleep when God performed the first surgery in history, let's keep that in mind because God did that. He awoke and saw the woman and said, "She is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh." And that is because he had a soul recognition. His soul recognized hers. It was her spirit, which was half of his, that drew him to her. Two complete halves created a whole, and they were naked together with no shame. To really understand what that means, if Adam was sleeping when God removed his rib and he saw Eve and he knew that she was of his flesh and of his bone, and that means that his soul recognized her soul, and that it was a spiritual connection that drew them together. Now, moving on, the journey has always been about companionship. When God created the first set of divine counterparts, he created Adam to rule and Eve to provide help and companionship. It wasn't about sex or children. We were created to rule and subdue, to walk with God and worship. There was and always will be a divine mission when God brings two people together. But Eve did partake of the fruit, and they realized they were naked and bore shame because of it. And when God called out to Adam, he hid. It was the outside influence that caused them to change the whole trajectory of the divine mission. Adam told God in verse 10, chapter 3, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And God said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" And the man said, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is it that you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." So here we see God confronted Adam, who was meant to be the head in the connection. He was meant to lead, but he allowed a woman to lead him when her job was to follow. His first mistake. Then we see God confront Eve and say, "What have you done?" And Eve replies by passing the buck to the serpent, just as Adam had passed it to her. So here we have a very messy situation that nobody wants to take accountability for. How many times have we allowed a man or woman to change the whole trajectory of our journey? Do we allow outside opinions and ungodly counsels and advice to lead us down the path to sin, though having the knowledge of God's promises for our lives? Oftentimes we know the path to take, but we are presented with two choices. And sin will always be dressed up on a platter. It will always look shiny and new. It will always appear to be everything that your flesh wants, but nothing that your spirit needs. Stop allowing other people to influence your path and your decisions based on their will for your life and not God's will. Oftentimes we have this thing called limited beliefs that stem from our childhood and adult experiences we create mental blocks, and people will project their self-imposed beliefs onto you. So that means that what they believe they can or can't obtain for themselves, they will project that onto you. They don't understand, so they discourage you because that's not what they see for your life. They don't think you can go that far or make it that big. And some people literally want to see you fall from God's grace. So just as the serpent in Genesis chapter 13, verse 15, God created enmity between men and the serpent. And though he might strike our heels, we are called to crush his head. So my message today is to crush the serpent's head. Tread on the serpents who stand between you and your divine purpose. The only way to kill a snake is to cut off its head. So at this time, it is time to walk the path less traveled by.